Yo, what is going on, guys? This is obviously Jordan here, back in with another video. This is going to be video 5 of the 30-day challenge. I have the little snippet in front of me, so we're going to be talking about toxic opinion corner follow-up video. And yeah, that's essentially it. So last time, it's been a little while now actually, I put out a video called like toxic masculinity. And I talked about a range of topics from like, men getting enough playtime, the whole not crying thing, wearing a mask in public and having to like hide your true feelings and being very stoic and stuff. And that video did pretty well. So I was like, you know what? To be fair, all of the opinion corner videos did better than I thought. So I thought to myself at some point, because I kind of addressed it from more of a discussive standpoint, I was just kind of like putting my thoughts out there, but I didn't actually talk about what I was going to do about it, what that means for me. So this is kind of more of like a follow-up to that. I'm not going to do a bunch of videos. This is just like a one-time thing, one-time follow-up, which I'm going to try and do for each of the opinion corner videos, and then after that, whenever that's done, I'll continue with some fresh, opinion corner content. But for now, as with the 30-day challenge, as with what I picked out of the hat, let's talk about toxic masculinity. I actually did a second video, so the plan was to do 4 opinion corner videos. I did one extra on because there was an article that came out about 95%, 97% I think of women who were sexually assaulted in the UK. So I talked about that as well, and these two are kind of intertwined, so I'm going to discuss both topics in this video. Hopefully it's going to be a lot shorter than like the 45 minutes that the other two were, but yeah, with that said, let's get into the video. So fundamentally, there was a lot of stuff that I kind of talked about in that video, but there are only really like 3 main key takeaways from that, and then 1 key takeaway from like the sexual harassment video. The 3 main takeaways from the toxic masculinity one was that, first of all, we need to get better at calling each other out, actually dealing with issues. Like, it's all good and well to observe these things, to know what's going on and to understand the dynamic, but to actually act on that and make sure that people are kept in line. I remember mentioning in one of these videos, probably the toxic masculinity one to be fair, where I was like, it's up to us to reflect on ourselves. Like, if everyone's self-aware and everyone fixes their own problems in real time, then you don't need to worry about the next person's problem because they're dealing with themselves, and everyone will eventually sort themselves out, right? But fundamentally, that's not, realistically, that's not the world we live in. People aren't necessarily reflecting on themselves, journaling, understanding what they're doing, and that's why it's important for the guys that are doing that for themselves and for others to actually speak about it, talk out, make it known, not in an aggressive way. Like, it does come down to understanding how to be like a good manager or a coach, or how to communicate properly. Communication is a very, very, very bad trait we have in society at the moment. People aren't very good at communicating, and I personally believe that bad communication, maybe like bad parenting, bad leadership, is like the root cause of pretty much all of our problems in society. That's just my take. Again, this is my opinion corner. If you want to have your own opinion, take that to a corner down below in the comments. Ironically, I'm not actually in the corner of the room this time, so maybe I should like change this to the follow-up series or something, the pull-up. But either way, people got to communicate more. And I think the final takeaway, alongside like talking to people and calling out nonsense and communication, the final thing that I took away from that video was appreciating that being nice isn't necessarily the right thing to do. There's a big difference between like being, doing the right thing and like being polite or being nice. And that doesn't just stop when it comes to like being nice or bad. That also applies when it comes to being selfish versus selfless. I've realized this in my own, personal endeavors. An example of that might be if I'm going out, I don't know, maybe in my head, the right thing to do, the selfless thing to do is provide for family when I buy stuff. But I guess to a point, if you're always putting all your effort into fixing things, buying things, helping other people, like, who's helping you? How are you helping yourself? All the money you earn, if you just put that back into, providing for X, Y, Z, what are you using to spend on yourself? If you do want to just, not even just like go out and celebrate, but like eat, you have to put yourself first a lot of the time. And I think if everyone puts themselves first, not literally all the time, but if you put yourself first in when you need to at certain times, that fundamentally is better. Like, everyone benefits from each individual doing really, really well. That's kind of my thing when it comes to billionaires. Like, people always complain about billionaires this, billionaires that, but it's like, if I were to give a random person $1 billion, what would you do with it? I know for a fact that Jeff Bezos knows how to start and build up and develop a $1 trillion company, $1 billion company, because he literally owns Amazon. He built that from the ground up. I know he's stepping down from chairman or whatever soon, but it's like, I know that he knows how to use money. I'm not just going to give it to a random student who goes out every Friday night and messes about. I don't care if what you dislike and like. At the end of the day, if you're talking about money, I need to see on paper, what are you going to do with this money? It's all going to well to say, oh, I want to buy this or give money to charity, but what does it actually mean? What's your actual strategy here? What is, is that definitely the best use of this money? Would it be better off going to that charity instead of the one you're choosing, or etc., etc.? There's a lot of thought that goes into it. And a lot of reasonings, you know, in my head, why being selfish sometimes, you know, putting yourself first, making sure things are right, you know, making sure you're right, you're on track, you're happy, you're in good physical shape, you got the money you need. Sometimes being selfish is the selfless thing to do, because if you're not at your best, you can't be, you know, you can't give as much as you would like to if you're not at your best. So make sure you're at your best first. You know, make sure we appreciate that doing the right thing isn't necessarily doing the nice thing. It's not always good to be selfless to help other people. It's not always good to, you know, withhold the truth and not tell someone. If someone's messing up, you might be like, oh, I don't want to hurt their feelings, don't want to tell them that. But the objective truth, 9 times out of 10, is if someone's messing up, you're way better off telling them that, hey, look, you're messing up, because then they stop messing it up, versus you don't tell them to like protect their feelings, and then they keep making the same mistake. And I think people are kind of scared nowadays to speak out at these certain things because they're scared. One, of course, like the objective, the selfish fear of like, I don't know, I might lose my job. That's obviously quite a big deal. I feel like, you know, having spoken to women in the last few months since making that video, I've realized that when it comes to a lot of the issues that women, and also like not just women, but any discriminated group, you know, the Jewish community, black people, LGBTQA+, any distinct group, we're always in this position where, of course, the patriarchy exists. You know, generally are white men in power, but we get to this position where it's like, oh, I can't actually complain or say anything because it might affect me. I might lose my job. I might get frowned upon in the office, and that's not. I understand the selfish perspective. The selfish perspective that it's self-preservation, but that's not fair. It shouldn't be that way. You shouldn't be allowed. It shouldn't be a case where if you do, you know, if you say something, you get in trouble. We need to improve our reporting systems, which is an interesting segue into the next part of what I want to talk about. Because since I put out the sexual harassment video, you know, I've done a lot of research looking into it, trying to understand why things are the way they are, what can I do about it, how people feel about these certain things. And since then, I stumbled across a startup, you know, technology startup called Metaspace, who specialize in like making technology with using like natural language processing, etc., to build up like a reporting app so they can report. You know, when people have issues in the sexual harassment in the workplace, you can report that through the app. And it's just a great way to, like, it's crazy how that sort of market hasn't even been addressed before these guys. I mean, obviously competitors always exist, or other companies doing other things, but it's like the fact that we've come all the way to 2021 and there's still no easy way to report racial incidents. There's still no real way to report sexual harassment incidents. There's still no real way to report like homophobia or like hate crimes. Or like, yeah, in the real world, you know, sometimes police can deal with like certain issues, but specifically like in university and workplaces and public spaces, there's no, you know, transparent law or like behavior policy or like anything obvious that makes it easy or acceptable for us to do, you know, to report these crimes when they happen. And that's something that needs to be addressed. And obviously Metaspace are a company that I'm, you know, volunteering for, that of course are trying to address that hole. So I'm trying my best to do my bit. You know, I'm trying to talk to people more. I'm trying to communicate more. I'm trying to understand things. And fundamentally, this follow up, as I mentioned, there's not much I can say because like the general point is that toxic masculinity, sexual harassment, all these things, that social dynamics at play between, you know, gender roles, it's nothing can really be fixed overnight, or really over a sustained period of time. I feel like a lot of these issues, I think I might have talked about this in the Black Lives Matter video that I put out, but it's like when it comes to racism, a lot of the obvious racial incidents are like political or diplomatic, or they can be dealt with by policy, you'd like to think, and they can be addressed in more practical ways. When it comes to like sexual harassment or like toxic masculinity, these are all very social things, very mental things, and there's no way, you can't like put out, well, I guess you technically can, but it won't work very well if you make a law that says men are have to cry. You know, then men don't cry is not a legal thing to say. Like, you can't really do anything about that. It's more social. It's more about what you say, hear, observe, understand, and that's kind of the place where I see myself right now. Another thing that, you know, tying the two things together again, that this is my final point as well, that I've recognized when it comes to like toxic masculinity and again like sexual harassment, is that even though sexual harassment isn't literally something that only applies from men to women, like men of course can also be sexually harassed, but the vast majority happens to women, unfortunately, so something that we have to talk about. But one thing that I've noticed is that when it comes to, you know, having spoken to girls about the way I act and what I can do better about that, for example, playing loud music or something like when you're driving and being obnoxious, just the way you say things, I've seen people like introduce themselves to like me and my like guy friends and they completely like overlook the girls on the table, and it's like, oh, you're not going to say hi to X and Y? Or like, you know, just the way we do things. Is that what I've recognized, that a lot of what we do isn't explicitly toxic. It's not explicitly bad or negative. It's more about, one, the way it's perceived, and two, about the consistency at which it applies to certain demographics of people. Specifically, of course, women in a case where sexual harassment, if I'm driving around playing loud music being obnoxious, yeah, that's annoying for me to do, but it's not explicitly toxic for me. Like, a girl's not going to be like, oh, that one individual guy is trash. But the problem is the consistency at which it happens, where every single, if you're a girl walking down the street, obviously I can't relate, I've never been a girl walking down the street, but if you're like going for a jog, like you're in good shape, and like, literally every single car that goes by is playing loud music, being obnoxious, like shouting at you, beeping or whatever, that is of course when it becomes a problem. And I think, even though I don't, haven't reflected, I don't actually have many many toxic traits. I think the problem again is the consistency of it and the rate which it happens to those demographics. Like, if I do something that's like 1% toxic, that's not so bad on me as an individual. But if 100 guys in a row do something that's 1% toxic to the same girl, that's obviously going to be perceived as 100% toxic because it's happening so consistently. And it's about recognizing the patterns and like trying to think to ourselves like, yeah, okay, maybe it's not that bad if I do it, but is this something that's consistently happening? Is this something that will get annoying? If me as a man, I'm walking down the street and every single female drivers are beeping at me, like, whoa, you go boy, and like obviously I'm going to be annoyed by that. Well, to be fair, I'm always walking around with noise cancelling headphones, minding my own business, and maybe a little ego boost every now and then might be a bit might be a bit useful. But the fundamental idea here is that consistency. You don't know what they've been through. They, of course, in this instance, talking about women in their lives, or even in that one individual day, or even like the hour leading up to it. You have no idea what path they took in life to be exactly in that moment where they are now. And for you to overlook that and be like, oh, but what I did is fine, isn't helpful or even accurate, really. Because again, even though I still disagree with the overall statement of like men are trash, I get it. Like, I actually, for the first time, I finally get it, because it's like, I'm not talking about, when women say men are trash, at least from the way I interpret it in my head now, they're not saying individual men, like this man is trash, but it's like the idea of what a man is trash. And I get that, because I do a lot of things that not consistency, but like if I were to continually do what I do all the time, then yeah, I would be a pretty trashy guy. The difference is I know when to be like polite and nice and like funny and normal versus when to be obnoxious and annoying. And also, when I am obnoxious and annoying, I'm not doing that in a malicious way. Maybe I'm just like, if I'm playing loud music, again, I'm not doing it so all the girls can be annoyed at me. I'm doing it because I'm in my car, I'm chilling, I'm enjoying myself. But it's like recognizing that, and again, deeping that this is something that is internalized between like so many people, and it's the consistency, the pattern of events. That's the problem. The idea of this happening all the time is the problem, and that goes back to the initial point. If you can call people out when they do this and make them understand what's going on, if you just communicate better, or even women as well. I know people don't like to hear it. People never like hearing solutions to their problems from other people, and I've lived through that. Like, I've stopped giving out help. I used to always give like advice to my friends, people that I know, like, oh, why don't you try doing this, or maybe your budget, maybe you should like make a budget or like a to-do list. And guys like, oh, I don't want to hear what you got to say. You just, I mean, like, I get it. I don't even like being told what to do, unless I'm explicitly asking for help. There's a difference. So if I'm asking for help and I get it, that's fine. But don't just give me advice if I'm asking for it, because I don't want that. So I understand that. But I just want to say, I think not just is it important for men to communicate to each other, but also for women to communicate. Like, I do understand, the patriarchy. There is power dynamics at play, even like in the physical, not just social, but in the physical realm. Like, men just generally are bigger and stronger than women. So I appreciate and understand the difficulty in there. I'm not trying to say that every woman needs to speak out on these issues, but it definitely helps. It means more for me to hear something from a woman than from another man about how to treat women, because I don't know what I'm saying, and obviously the guy that I'm talking to doesn't know what he's saying. So yeah, I think that does come back to men in a sense, to work on how can we enable women to feel comfortable to do these things in the workplace, or in university, on campus, wherever that may be. But again, communication, man. Let's talk to each other. Let's talk to each other. Everyone should have a blog and a YouTube channel and a TikTok. Well, to be fair, everyone already does have a TikTok, but apart from me, I had it for a bit. And then I think I had it in June actually, and that was during the Black Lives Matter protest, and there was another socially big thing that happened at the time. I think it was the Sarah Everard incident around that time. No, it can't have been. But either way, there was a lot going on, and I was on TikTok. Like, there's not only are they not talking about it, but it's like, even if I try and look for it, it's like they rank it way down below. Like, I get it, I understand how algorithms work. It's not literally like suppression, or it might be censorship, I don't know. But it's like, I was kind of looking at the app and like, these guys, they seem more concerned about keeping me on the app and taking all my data than actually giving me what I want. And in this sense, people do generally want entertainment. That's kind of why they get these apps. But I guess I don't want to. You're just swiping through nonsense. Like, yeah, I don't know. Sorry, TikTok. Please don't sue me for for this video. But as far as, you know, toxic masculinity and sexual harassment goes, that's essentially all I've got for this video. The one, you know, actionable step that I took personally, outside of like talking to people and making this video, was, as I said, I've been volunteering for this company, Metaspace. So check them out. I strongly recommend you check out Metaspace. They're really cool startup. Me myself, I'm going to continue to educate myself and try and understand not just what I can do, because I am doing the things that I think I should be doing anyway, at least I hope so, but also what how I can influence people around me. You know, the way I communicate and interact with my little brothers, are they like, what perspective are they going to gain from how I treat them? And I'm going to continually try and think about how I'm perceived, even though I don't really care. I mean, I'm wearing this like very generic hoodie. I don't care about how I'm perceived generally, but this is an important matter, I think. You know, this is an important issue. But there are so many things I'm just trying to do better, just for, again, the perception of how I'm perceived by other people. Because again, consistency, pattern of events, if you can break that pattern, the same way this whole like lockdown is, initially people always use like the dominoes example, like, oh, if you stop going out, that stops the transition of, otherwise if you do go out, then it, you know, you can transfer it from this person to that person as a domino effect. That was the whole, like, I saw a lot of memes about that at the beginning of the first lockdown. The same rule applies here. If you're always perpetuating this ideology, of course it's going to be perpetuated, because you're part of that, you're the link. You want to take yourself out of that and you know, stop, you know, no longer allow it to continue, allow things to change and be different, and perpetuate different ideals. And, you know, you want to like change the narrative for life, okay? Faithful Black Man Association, black men don't cheat. Yeah, that's it. That's all I want to say. This whole video led up to that moment. Black men don't cheat. Now, I hope you guys have enjoyed it, and I'll talk to you guys in the next video. This is the end of day 5 of the 30-day upload challenge. So if you guys have enjoyed it so far, please smash the like button. Let me know down below in the comments. And again, I'll talk to you tomorrow. Yeah. Peace.